Մեծարգո պարոն նախարար, հարգարժան
Your
հյուրեր,
Excellency, Mr. Minister, dear guests and participants, I take the freedom to welcome everybody on the Organization Committee of the Armenian IGT Forum. As you know, the Internet Conference Forum is an open platform for everybody. Here we discuss all modern problems and issues concerning Internet, listen to the opinions of the local and foreign country experts and make initiatives, discuss ideas. This is the second time we have such conference this year for the organization and for the happening of which I want to thank our sponsors and supporters. IKEA and Internet community are our golden sponsors who are always ready to support the Internet governance forums on local, regional and global level. The other international sponsor of ours is the IGF Association, whose mission is to support such initiatives all over the world. Among the sponsors, I want to mention the name of the Armenian Internet community, who is already for more than a decade working in this sphere and is the registrar of the domains .am and .hi. So our forum is devoted to the topic of sustainable development. We anticipate interactive participation in the discussions of this conference. And with this, I want to give the floor to the Minister of Transportation, Communication and of Armenia to say the opening words for this conference. Thank you. Dear colleagues, I want to welcome cordially all the participants and organizers of the second forum of Armenian Internet governance. This is really a very good example of close collaboration of private and state agencies and bodies of Armenia, giving high importance to the role of IT in our economy. I am sure that we shall we shall open more potentials for creating practical relations for the entities acting in that sphere in our country and involving the international experience. I want to state that the topics that are involved in the agenda of the forum are really in accord with the challenges that are faced by our society. Our country has chosen the development of this sphere as one of the priorities of the development of our country, and for the axial enhancement of this sphere, we are going to take all necessary efforts. Once again, I want to welcome all participants or organizers of the conference and wish you a very productive work. Thank you for attention. Thank you, Mr. Minister. Now, with your permission, I am inviting for a welcoming word the Deputy Head of the organization IKEA for the Mr. Yakushev. Morning, thank you very much. I will allow myself, take the freedom to speak in English because my Armenian is not that good, so as I would be able to welcome you in your beautiful so nevertheless, well, yes, ստիպված եմ հիմա թարգմանել հայերեն.
Language which plays more important role in what we call global internet governance because of the development of your internationalized domain name .hi. Armenia is a real leader in what we can tell their global internet governance. It shows very good example of interaction of all stakeholders, including the government, including the civil society and the business. And it also shows the very good level of relationship with ICANN, the corporation which is responsible for managing the system of global identifiers. I'm very pleased that we have a wonderful addition to our ICANN team, which is from Armenia, Armenia. The lady whom you know, Siranush Vardanyan, finally was hired by ICANN, and she became the representative of the 31 country whose citizens are part of our big ICANN family. Of course, we also expect more active participation and involvement of Armenian researchers, Armenian civil society activists, Armenian businessmen in what we call internet governance. And we have a chance to discuss these issues and to make certain progress during the second IGF. It was very successful last year. This time it has another format. It's more compact with very interesting presentations, with very interesting speakers. And I wish you all the best and success with this second Armenian IGF. Thank you.
Շնորհակալություն։ Այժմ ուզում եմ հրավիրել ինտերնետ
All right, thank you very much. Now I want to invite Mr. Frederick Duncan, the head of the
Very
Internet.
glad to be here today, Mr. Minister, dear colleagues of ICANN, RIPE, and of course, our wonderful chapter of the Internet Society. So I've been told that timing matters in life, and I would like to congratulate the chapter of the Internet Society for organizing the first IGF in a new era of post-INA transition. History will remember that. So very good inspiration, so congratulations for this. And by the way, we will have time today, I've seen the agenda, to also congratulate ourselves and talk about this INA transition. I believe it's a very important step. We all should be aware of it. To quote Cathy Brown, I believe this is a remarkable testament to the many individuals and the organization in the world who have done the best for the internet. So let's be proud of this. For the Internet Society, we have still much work to do, though. You know that access is key to us. So far, there are more than 3 billion people who have access to the internet. This is 43% of the worldwide populations, meaning we still have much work to do to attract the next billions, and those one will be much more difficult. 57% of the population still don't have access to the internet. When you see what we've done, and policymakers have done the recent years and the recent decades, we have focused quite much on network infrastructure. I believe this is still accurate, but we realize that we might also turn to other essential assets and issues to attract people to the internet. The first one is relevance. Because we see in many countries that although people might have access to the internet, they just don't do, and they just don't feel the internet is relevant for them. So it tells us a lot. It tells us that content is really important and matters. So it's also about investing in content infrastructures, IXPs, data centers, hubs, etc. So we certainly will address that today. And then there are other issues. I see gladly that in a few minutes after our keynote, we will have someone here in Armenia to talk us through Innovation Hub and Enterprise Incubator. This is really essential. This is just about skills and entrepreneurship. You know, the beauty of the internet is that the next Facebook or Twitter might just come from here in Armenia, and I really wish it will. But you need an environment to support this, to support innovation and to create such an ecosystem. And then last but not least, this is also about governance. We also need to include those people who normally have no voice in the internet, users, civil society. If you got those ADN right, you can really push a country or a region at the highest level of internet penetrations. And this is a nice transition because I can see in this room, and thank you, Mr. Minister, but thank you all the people who are here today, that we have this ADN today to just, today to just discuss all of these issues. So I wish us a very fruitful event. And again, thanks again for the chapters for organizing this first IGF on such a day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Շնորհակալություն, պարոն Ֆրեդերիկ, շատ ամփոփ
Indeed, you spoke very concisely and introduced the points that we are going to discuss in the course of the day very comprehensively. I want to now invite Mr. Maxim Bortikov, the responsible for foreign relations of the company RAI-PCC.
We're very happy to be here. We're very happy to support this meeting. And we must say it's a huge pleasure to see how local internet community is growing over the years. Only a year ago, we were hosting and making it happen the regional conference, RAI-PCC regional conference here in Yerevan. And I must say that this was the moment when you all know about the energy transition that just happened. It's a huge step. And last year, a year ago, an Armenian community had an opportunity to shape the way it all happened right now. It all happened positively. And a year ago, an Armenian community had a voice, had an opportunity to, contribute to the outcome of it. So we're very proud of the momentum that the Armenian technical community had managed to build. And we urge you to keep doing what you're doing, this magic that you're doing, because we do feel we do support meetings and we do help meetings all over the region, and we do feel something special in here. So that's a very valuable thing. And also, Mr. Minister, we have you opening this meeting just like you opened the meeting of ENOG 2 days ago. This is very positive involvement of the government, and we feel it. We talk to the community, and community says that yes, this is very positive, equal footing work between the community and the government. That's a very important thing that you're building here in the country. So I wish everyone successful and fruitful meeting, and I must say that RAI-PCC has big plans for developing the momentum in Armenia as well. We're going to be coming back with more meetings, organizing more forums, organizing more trainings, and especially in local language. Just recently we had the Train the Trainer program accomplished. We had 4 people from Armenia, from Yerevan, who were able to pass this training and now going to be able to come here and do the trainings in Armenian language for the Armenian community. And yes, so the plans are big, and I wish you all success. Thank you.
Շնորհակալություն։ Այժմ սիրով ուզում եմ հրավիրել ինտերնետ
Pleasure. I want to invite the Secretary of Interbranch Board of Internet Community and Mr. Grigor Sahyan. Dear participants, dear Mr. Minister, I'm really very glad to see so many guests and so many participants here. On behalf of the internet community, I want to welcome everybody, and I would like to say a couple of words on how our collaboration is going on with different clusters of the society, with the initiative of the Ministry of Transportation and Internet community. The Council on Internet Governance has been created, which includes tripartite participants, the private government. The board is led by Gagik Tadevosyan. He has a meeting today in Istanbul. That's why he's not here. And the secretariat of the Internet Governance is the Internet community, actually. And here we see a very well distribution of responsibilities when the coordination is under the aegis of the Ministry of Transportation, but the public organization, civil organization is really very active in participating. We have had many meetings, a lot of work has been done, so I want to say that this kind of collaboration has become the initiator of this forum of ours of today. And it turns out that the Internet Governance Forum, together with the Ministry of Transportation and Communication, have initiated and organized this very conference. I hope that all the topics that have been suggested for the agenda are really how to say, are really fresh, and the choice of the topics have been made from bottom to top, and through internet voting we have chosen the most urgent issues. So I want to thank you, Mr. Minister, that you have indicated that the topics are really very important and urgent, but these topics have been chosen, I want to highlight, by the society by itself. In the course of 3 months we have managed to edit the suggested topics and create today's agenda. Again, thank you very much, and I want to wish everybody a fruitful working day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank all the speakers. Once again, I want to thank our international and local sponsors, as well as thank you very much, Mr. Minister, that today you are with us at opening this event. We appreciate very highly our collaboration, the society and the government. Thank you very much. So with this, opening the part, finishing the opening part of the event, I want to now introduce or give the floor, better say, to the first speaker, who will introduce speak, better say, about all those innovations which are being supported by the incubator of enterprises, and I'm inviting Mr. Bagrat Yengibaryan to make the presentation. The topic of Mr. Yengibaryan is IT labor market challenges, and Mr. Yengibaryan is the head of the Enterprise Incubator Foundation. Some technical issues are to be solved, most probably. Okay, let me start. Firstly, I want to welcome all organizers and all guests. This is an honor for me to be here and to speak for you. If you won't mind, I will speak in English so as to make it easier, the matter of translation.
English to make the life of our guests easy, so, because most of the locals, they already had the chance to discuss these issues. Once again, ontsenk pochum. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Bagrat Yengibaryan. I'm a director of Enterprise Incubator Foundation. This is one of the largest IT business development and incubation agencies in the region, not only in Armenia, but the region. And we're managing more than 5 incubators and innovation centers in Armenia, in Yerevan, and 3 in regions of the country. We have been established in 2002, and during these years also we manage to create a model which is already interesting not only for Armenia but also for the most of the countries in the region. So why we are also providing lots of services to other countries in the region and in the world also. Before going into deep into the topic, I will give a short overview about the sector of IT. We are happy now because finally we have a new ministry which called Ministry of IT, Communication and Transport. I don't know why they're calling vice versa IT at the end, but I think in the nearest future IT will become one of the major activities of the ministry. And as Minister already mentioned, IT was declared a priority in 2001, and the government and the private sector and also the community are they're putting a lot of efforts on development of the sector. So during these last 10-15 years, we managed that IT became, I will say, the largest sector in the country by number of employed people. Finally, we reached the target, which is 15,000 employed people in the sector, not including only technical people, not including support staff, which is more than in the mining sector. And when we're speaking about an average salary, this is one of the highest in the country, which is more than 1,000 US dollar equivalent. But what is interesting, the sector is not only growing, and we have more than 500 companies, but also the productivity of the sector is very high. So the productivity is coming to the close to the of the employees to the closer to the developed countries. And also the geography of the sector is wide. So if you are looking on an expert, it mainly is more than 60% of the sector. It's expert oriented. Still, the US is the largest market. But during the last few years, Europe, especially CIS countries, Russia, are becoming more and more active, and Armenian companies are getting more part in their contracts. But also, in ownership structure, there's still the foreign investments are large, and especially it's interesting the role of the diaspora, because diaspora is playing a major role in the investments of finding a SaaS contract and the development of the sector. One of the major competitive advantages that Armenian IT is developing is still education. And we have, if you know, there are more than 60 higher educational establishments in the country. And most of them, they have some IT specialization, but there are top 15 who are very active in the development of IT and providing IT skill set. And still the popular ones are Yerevan State University, Sejinjing University, and others. But one of the major things that we see during the last few years, it's there's a high inertia in higher education system. Educational organizations had a difficulties to adapt their needs and also the curricula to the recent development in the sector, because sector is growing very fast. And we understand that this is not only Armenian phenomena and the problem, but also in many countries in the world they have the same problem. And there's still we see the gap between the number of the graduates and the number of the people are employed in the sector. The issue is that itself, just to rely only on universities, it will be very difficult because I already mentioned about the inertia and what are the development models, so what are the interventions that we are trying to do, and also using the best experience in the world to do that. The approaches are different. Just before going to that, I want to say that already in the sector the demand is more than 2,000 specialists. So having this 25% annual growth, still there's a large need in the sector to be employed new people. And also what is important, it's not only, Armenia is not only cheap workforce destination, it's not only a sector that are looking for a cheap workforce. we have our specific and unique positioning in a global market. This is a country when all the multinationals and the locals are looking for solutions to their specific issues and to their specific problems. So this is giving, there are new challenges which means that only just rely on a workforce that will be employed and will be do a ABC type of the work is not sufficient, because we need to create a workforce which is creative and providing specific solutions to the specific problems. And we understand that we should go down into also the secondary education, why we can see the lots of initiatives in the country, not only on higher education level, but also on a secondary education level. But on higher education level, which is most of the challenges, the model which we are developing is Armenia. It's very interesting, and I will say a few examples and different models, what are the major interventions for skill set development in the country. One of the well-known models, which is also working in Armenia, it's a partnership with large multinationals that are helping to create their specific workforce, but also they're supporting to general workforce development in the country. One of the successful models are Synopsys, which is already doing more than 7 years. So they created their own department inside of private company. They have a good partnership with 4 universities, and also by training students. This is important. It's not just a training center. They are also working with universities, and from the 2nd grade they are training university kids. They are satisfying their needs, plus they are providing a huge number of workforce to the sector. Another model is working with large multinationals on innovation centers. So we have an interesting example with Microsoft on Microsoft Innovation Center, and also with IBM Center for Innovative Solutions and Technologies. So there we are not relying only on the needs which sector is demanding, but also we are targeting to the future needs that the specialists in the future will be able to provide solutions to the issues. So Microsoft Innovation Center and IBM, they have the specific internship programs that are providing specific training for specific skill set for the specific number of the people. Another interesting model which we have, there are 2 of them. One is Armenian National Engineering Lab, which is unique lab covering 39 directions in IT and engineering. This is a partnership with National Instruments, American company. And what is important, first time in a large scale we intervene into the educational process of higher educational establishment. The model was designed in a state engineering university. The student, it's required for the student to pass this specific training in parallel to their usual classes. And we have also lots of interesting initiatives with different governments, like Armenian and Indian government initiative, which is Armenian Indian Training Center, which providing more than 1,000 trainings. And what is interesting also, now the new partnership with an Indian government, is the center will become more regional. So we'll have more and more students from, in the future, from Georgia and Iran coming to be trained here. And the results based on these trainings are very encouraging and interesting, because by developing these innovation centers, which have a big impact also on education system, we managed to push also innovation inside of the country by developing specific skill sets. So as we managed to create an environment and ecosystems which providing a specific, which are very efficient for specific innovation type of activities. I already told about Microsoft Innovation Center, but on acceleration side, this is a top 4 Microsoft innovations in the world. And Microsoft now using the model for development of similar innovation centers in other countries in the world. Or ANEL, which is, as I mentioned, a partnership with the National Instrument. This is now the governor of Texas now developing a specific model also for their country, or Mobile Lab, which was created in partnership with Nokia, and Nokia was acquired by Microsoft. Based on that and also the skill set available there, now they're creating a regional mobile and application laboratory, which will be a specific stress on cloud and mobile solutions. And also we managed to go to the regions. So the model giving us an opportunity not to concentrate all the workforce inside of the country, but also to create a specific environment in the regions, like in Gyumri and Vanadzor, that there will be no need for the specialist or the student to move Yerevan to be employed for a specific company. So Vanadzor Technology Center and Gyumri Technology Center were developed, and they're providing not only training type of activities, but there are also innovation centers and incubators, which we have a lot. In Gyumri, it's already 1 year operational. It's practically full. And we have not only Armenian, but Taiwanese, American, and other companies, even from Yerevan, moving there to get an access to the specific skill set, which in many cases is not affordable, available in Yerevan. And I will tell about a little bit about ecosystem. This is not just this workforce development activities. This is not just goal to increase the number of people in the sector, but we have a lot of parallel activities which are helping them to create teams, to create startups. And one of the good news, it's the government of Armenia, most probably most of you know, have a special treatment in IT sector for IT startups. For 3 years they are exempt from the profit tax, and they have a 10% income tax. And these are the startups, just a small part of startup ecosystem, that because of this skill set they are starting their companies in the country. And annually there are more than 60 startups starting in Armenia. This is just a map to show how it's distributed. So not only there is a large concentration in Yerevan, but we are also trying to go to the regions. And one of the interesting things that also there's some development in Artsakh. There's an Artsakh IT center, and we have already American company which is based in Stepanakert. And there are also interesting next steps. Large engineering city will be established in Yerevan, in the suburbs of the city of Yerevan, in Gervesh. It will be major concentration on education and engineering sector development activities. And also we have an interesting and new initiative on a cybersecurity, on a regional cybersecurity center. And at the end, I want to share a few interesting examples that the sector managed to reach. By the model which we are pushing already 10 years, so we have already changed transformation in a structure of IT. So from outsourcing destination during the last 5 years, Armenia becoming a country which is developing products and solutions for the global markets. And one of the important part of the model is there are the acquisitions from the private companies. And a few examples which happened last year. We all know about Oracle and the Cisco acquisitions. Each of the deals were cost $100 million, or GF or Monetis and VMware, TeamViewer acquisition, which was cost $1.1 billion, which is giving a interesting boost to the development of the sector. But also we have our interesting local stories. We have already made in Armenia products that are global. The PixArt, one of the examples, is one of the top 50 applications in the world. And this is a company employing 300 people in Armenia. And one of the major key issues of success is the workforce that they have in the country. In US, they are keeping only their marketing and financial staff for 20 people. Or SoloLearn, which became during the last year top 10 startup in fastest growing startup in the Silicon Valley. There is only non-American company among these 10, and many others like T-Mobile, Shadowmatic, and others, which is giving an interesting energy, they're giving big energy to us, that the model which we are relying on our major competitive advantage, which is workforce, and the model which we are developing on a skill development, how to train continuously this workforce, are giving us opportunity not to bring large investment into the country, but also to create an ecosystem where we have our local global startups. So I will stop here. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you. Vahan Ovsepyan, Armix Foundation. Can you please tell a bit more about the upcoming activity in New York? Because I guess it is one of the milestones of Armenia to bring the high-tech, the investments in high-tech sector of Armenia. Thank you.
As for the New York, the event, the investment forum will take place 10-11 October this year. So in next 2-3 days, most of the delegates will leave the country. What is interesting that the first time that in a large investment forum, when the president will be also be there, which is a big message to the investors, major stress is on technology. So it's not only IT, but also on high tech, and also it's important as Armenia is positioning itself as a technological destination. Definitely there will be other investment projects on agriculture, pharmaceuticals, and many other sectors. But if we are looking on agenda and most of the activities and also the projects, I will see the major stress on tech. During the first day, there will be also some signing ceremony, so I don't want to open all the secrets. So we need some everything to keep also for the event. But also during the second day, if you are looking on agenda, there is only most of the panels are trying to stress on technology. Not only we have on IT high tech, but there is specific on communication also. And if you are looking on a project on an investment panel, there are interesting also the tech event. I hope the event will be successful, and I think it will be not only just a nice visit, but we already know that we'll have also will announce some interesting initiatives which will start from the New York next week.
Thank you. Maybe the next question. At ENOC these 2 days, we're also discussing that Armenia is quite experienced in running multi-stakeholder commissions or multi-stakeholder units. So the one we represent here is Internet Governance Council, and the second one that is under your supervision or not the control, supervision, or you oversee that, is the Information Technologies Development Support Council. With the changes in the government, there were some changes in all the structures. Do you consider any changes here, or do you want to think that it could be more activated, etc.? So what future can we anticipate in this body? Thank you.
Yeah. IT Support Council, I think it was established in 2001 when the IT was declared as a priority sector. And this was created an interesting platform for the dialogue between private sector and the government. But I think this is nice momentum. I think the role of the council will be developed in the future, because the council is not only becoming a place for the dialogue, but also council today is becoming also the place for the dialogue between the private sector organizations and also the government, inside of the government. Because when we are going back in 2001, we have 35 companies just one ministry who is Minister of Economy who is trying to deal with some of the IT developments. But now we can see that in itself, inside of the sector, we have many unions, organizations. Because of the size of the sector, we have different interest centers. This is not that the sector is dividing into different organizations. This is natural development because having more than 500 companies in the large startup movement, you need to have different interest centers. And different organizations are specifically specialized on a specific center. In the near future, I think we'll have more and more organizations like startups and some others. On the other hand, in the government itself, with the an interesting development inside of the all agencies. And we see the development also intergovernmental activities, not only e-government systems, but now the cybersecurity is one of the top topics. So this is an area where different government organizations should interact. And here, the partnership between the government and the private sector is important because private sector of Armenia is also contributing a lot to the tech development inside of the government and government agencies and the local authorities. So I think now we are working with the government and different unions on a new concept of the center. So center, I think in the nearest future, the new prime minister has been appointed. We'll have a first meeting and this new concept will be discussed, which will become a place for strategic discussion of the future IT and e-society development in this country, because what we have is already, we can say it's success, but it's not enough. So now the major challenge will be how to leverage all these successful activities. But also Armenia is active not only in the Council, but also we are coordinating lots of groups in EU on digital agenda, in Eurasian Union. Armenia is coordinating one of the ministers. She's former Deputy Minister of Economy. She's very active, Karina Minasyan. She's very active on this digital agenda inside of the Eurasian Union. And I think I'm coming from one of the large events in Moscow when even the Russia, sitting next to the Minister of Communication of Russia and etc. There are very interesting developments inside of Armenia which could be replicated in a larger scale. And one last thing, Armenia is interesting environment. Being small, for us it's also a competitive advantage. Some people thinking that it's a disadvantage because of the market size, but it's becoming now an interesting advantage because many projects now they are prototyped and tested in Armenia before scaling up. We know one of the nice examples is IBM. IBM with our Ministry of Social Protection or whatever, I don't remember the right name of the ministry, developing a system, Kuram system here for the country for potential expansion with a regional excellence center in Mongolia and different regions of Russia and then etc. So the same for Microsoft on the cloud and mobile. Microsoft is promoting local cloud and mobile solutions for SMEs for future expansion into the larger market. So I think more and more in the future we'll see more regional and global activities coordinated from Armenia.
Good, thank you. And if there are no questions, I can continue. Well, I know that EF is quite advanced in developing IT and now high-tech industries in Armenia. And the question is, are we going to go deeper to the economy? I mean, the IT solutions, innovations to the economy, to the fields of economy, like agriculture, IT or ICT applications in tourism, etc. Because we are not going just to raise the penetration of internet itself. It is not, okay, it is good. Actually, it is good, but we also want to make the innovations to economy so more people can use the internet with the dedicated, for the dedicated purposes. Thank you.
I think we should do that because, especially now, we have good partners from telcos. Before, telcos are relaxed because they have a large revenues and etc. because of the different model. Now, in the global world, the model has been changed. Now the content is one of the major and what solutions you are using, and this transformation giving a new challenge for the IT sector development, and not to concentrate on a local solutions. I think it's not smart. It's good that we have a lots of global solutions, but also now we are thinking how these existing ecosystems will contribute not only for the global solutions, which is good for investment promotion side of the country, but also on some of the local solutions, which will, on one hand, will be a revenue source for the local IT companies, but on the other hand, this is increasing also efficiency and productivity of other sectors. So this was a message when in the nearest future we'll have different mechanisms like matching grants and the venture fund activities which are directed to the IT solutions in other sectors of the economy. Health is one of them, education is another one, agriculture is another one. And another important thing is not only education or agriculture, we have also interesting conceptual changes in the system, like in a banking system, in education system. And this all will give us, I think, through these innovation centers and through these different mechanisms. During the Prime Minister meeting 2 days ago, they were discussed a specific grant mechanism, refundable grants, which will concentrate it on IT solutions in biotech and also in renewable energy and energy efficiency sectors. And this could be developed. But still lots should be done. And we need also to understand, to look what is taking place in other countries and what are the countries that are successful on that part.
Well, I guess we can say thank you, Diana.
Thank you.
Շնորհակալություն պարոն Ենգիբարյան, շատ հետաքրքիր ելույթի համար եւ շնորհակալություն մեր մասնակիցներին իրենց հարցերով ներկայանալու։ Հրավիրում եմ բոլորին ակտիվ լինել, հարցադրումներ անել ելույթ ունեցողներին։
Invite everybody to be more interactive and ask questions. Now I want to invite the participants of our first session. The moderator is Mr. Grigor Sayan of the first panel session. The first panel participants is the regulation of OTT services. Post-regulation of existing OTT services. First panel session, and now the speakers will introduce themselves. Yuri Kargapolov, Frederick Dork, Vahram Martirosyan, Aram Vertyan, and Antosh Grigoryan. You are welcome to come to the table of speakers. Okay, dear guests, dear colleagues, I am going to introduce to you, but I'd ask the OTT services, taking into account that not all participants are here specialists in communication. I'm going to make, better say, a simplified comparison. So I'm asking the specialists, don't think, please, that this is excessive information, because it is really important to some of our guests and participants who are not specialized in the sphere that we are going to speak about. Before the emergence of internet, before its creation in our lives, we had the owners of the networks had only two ways of making revenues, like say 10 minutes you spoke and then 5 drums per minute used. This could be compared with the automobile routes, that the owner of the automobile routes had its own fleet of buses, and only its own buses were moving through those roads, and no other buses were allowed to use those roads. And that was the main source of their revenues. With the emergence of internet, the owners of the networks started to provide their networks to other audio service providers, vocal service providers like Skype or Viber, and these companies started to provide the same services if we are to compare with the automobile roads, then we would see that the roads became better, they were enhanced, but the small buses that belonged to the operators and which were already obsolete, then new cars came forward, Mercedes or other Fords, who started to move through those roads. But they don't pay anything to the owner of the road. They are using the road, and the owner of the network has nothing from it, actually. So it turns out that something interesting is happening. The more the operator enhances its own network, more others are using it. And the revenues of the operator are not changing. On the contrary, they are squeezing down. You now see this difficult situation. The operators would say it better. The more they improve their networks, others use it more, and the operators have no revenues in order to develop their networks. And these good buses that are today moving along our networks and moving megabytes of information and data, they are providing better and still better services because they are providing secrecy, privacy, the level of privacy and secrecy that the operator cannot provide. Like, for example, Viber allows you to code and cipher your traffic from A point to B point, and no other specific service is able today to, in a reasonable time, to decipher these codes. The operator makes investments, actually, as we see, but the revenues end up in a different pocket. So, who are these players? That is to say, who are those who are higher than the top of the network? These are the Skype, Viber, WhatsApp, Facebook, Google, as I said, who are providing vocal services, and the quality, as we see, is really very good. In many cases, it's even better than mobile service, cellular service quality. The other over-the-top services, which are far from us, but let's don't forget that there are really very important issues connected with the copyrights, with there is IPTV in Armenia, for which you need to have license, but there is also Internet TV, for which no license is required. I am an operator, I am providing service from Internet, I download this material, and there is no regulation local. This is also over-the-top service. There are very many issues connected here with the rights, with the author's rights, but let's not touch it. Maybe, most probably, we'll not touch them today. We'll speak about them in another time. Now, what are the main issues, the main questions? The main questions. What will happen if this situation will persist, if this situation will continue? That's to say, what should we do so as the operators will have enough, say, savings of revenues or for investments for developing the networks? What should we do so as our OTT services would not interfere in the development of our networks? Is it possible to provide some kind of collaboration between the OTT service providers and local networks? Look here, I have brought some figures, some very simple statistics. The figures may be not correct. The last figure says that in 2015 we were anticipating 5 billion users of the network, and this is the information, that is to say, from 8 billion of the global population, 5 billion is going to have cellular connection. Let's look at the number of smartphones. In 2019, we anticipate that there is going to be 2.6 billion smartphones. But let's remember, OTT services are possible only if you have smartphones. And we see the growth, constantly we see the growth. So everybody is this way or that way going to end up with using smartphones. This is the example of United States, which shows that in 2014, 64% of population had smartphones. That is to say, 64% is able to use OTT services. I have to say that currently in the United States, they have the approach that 2G networks are going to be dismantled. Only for vocal services, they think you don't need a network at all. This may